Chuck Carnevale, I'm the Chuck in the Markets Up Chuck. And today's post was titled Ingenuity of Mankind, and it really, my purpose was to focus and highlight on how, powerful the ability of mankind to apply ideas and solve challenges and problems no matter what they are that we face. And, with all the talk about doom and gloom today, and all the references back to the Great Depression, I think it's really important to recognize that over, all this time there's always been a lot of challenges, always been a lot of problems, but, mankind has persevered and we have, solved all of our major problems, and I believe that continues even today. Especially, I think it's important to look at the current recession and recognize that although the problems were real, a lot of those problems are behind us, and we're beginning to move forward now to what I believe is going to be a very strong and bright future once all these problems are ultimately solved. In today's VidX, I'm going to look at 4 or 5 companies that basically did not even exist a decade ago that, in some ways I'm embarrassed to offer these because certainly the ingenuity of mankind has created many, many more important advances in engineering and science and medicine than, the 4 companies I'm going to feature today. But the reason I show these companies are most of them didn't even exist, but, a decade or so ago. And, if you go back to the Great Depression, the ideas of these companies would not have even been something that was plausible. For example, my first example here is eBay, and we're looking at a 12-year history here. This company has created jobs. It's created new business opportunities that didn't exist before. As you can see, since its early years, the company has grown earnings at over 50% a year. It has no debt on the balance sheet. And like a lot of companies, the stock price is currently very, very low relative to its historical norm. But here's a company that's still expected to grow at 15 to 20% a year. You can buy it at 11 times earnings. It has no debt on the balance sheet. And if you look at it historically, since September 30th, 1988, through yesterday's closing price, this company would have turned $100,000 into just under $875,000 for its shareholders, generating a 22% rate of return versus a minus 1.2 for the market. This is a company that didn't even exist, the last time, we had a real serious depression, which was, which everybody wants to reference to. But, the point I want to make is also that the economy had very little to do with the success of this company. It was really all based on eBay. In fact, the only thing the economy did was lower a rate of return that would have been truly extraordinary had the price not fallen from, from its more lofty levels. My second example is Priceline, and once again, I want you to see a company that's generated enormous growth. Here's a company that's actually gone out and solved the problems of the high cost of travel for people by allowing you, in essence, to bid on, travel and so on. Again, a company with no debt on the balance sheet, trading at a significant discount to its normal price-earnings ratio, and once again, a company that has enriched their shareholders over the last 6 years, since 12/31/03, at a rate of almost 37% a year, even at these discounted values, during a time now when the market would have lost almost 4% a year. Another company that didn't even exist the last time we had a recession as bad as the current one. My third example is Akamai, which is a Hawaiian word for smart, and this is a company that basically has come into existence as a result of the development of the World Wide Web, more commonly known as the Internet. This company simply makes the Internet work better for some of the most important corporations and even government agencies in the world. They just recently won a contract for the upcoming Winter Olympics, and essentially what they do is they have roughly 45 to 50,000 servers that when you hire them, you run your Internet applications through their process, and therefore you don't have to get bogged down into the heart and the guts of the Internet. You can actually skirt around it and get much more robust applications. For businesses that rely on the Internet, it's very, very important. As you can see, this company has grown earnings at over 40% a year. The market has generally, had a love fest going with it, through early 2006. The recession did bring the stock price down to something like 14 times earnings. The company has very little debt on the balance sheets, generates great cash flows, and is expected to grow at 15 to 20% a year going forward. And another example of a company that generated, since 2003, very, very acceptable 10.5% rate of return for its shareholders versus the minus 3.8 in the S&P during a time when the market was bad, offering a product and service that didn't exist, a decade or so ago, and there was no need for it prior to the Internet. It's just another tribute to the ingenuity of mankind. Then, of course, my final example is Google. Again, no debt on the balance sheet, unbelievable growth. This company came from nowhere just a few short years ago and would have turned $100,000 since August 31st as a public company, 2004, into $400,000, generating a 33% rate of return during a period when the market and the economy was bad and did minus 4.4%, 4.1%. And keep in mind, this is at a very discounted price relative to its historical norm. This company is expected to continue to grow at 20% a year. Again, no debt on the balance sheet, and it's become ubiquitous. You know, everywhere you turn, I even saw it on the news this morning. You know, just Google it. And, you know, here's a company that really, you know, is employing thousands and thousands of people. It's created a $99 billion market cap, and it's a business that wasn't even imagined just a few years ago. As I mentioned in my beginning of this VidX post, you know, there are many, many advances in engineering and science and medicine and on that really I think are more important than these. But I just reference these to illustrate how what is in our future we really don't know. But I guess the point I want to make is never underestimate the power of human ingenuity. I do believe, as I say in the closing part of this post today, I reference Knight Kiplinger, who made some very, very strong comments about, how important it is to recognize that, the U.S. will once again become the world's major exporter of high-tech capital goods and services to rapidly expanding economies. And he asked us to think about what the World Wide Web. You can read that at the end of this blog. The point is, don't underestimate the human potential because it can be very, very costly. Buy low is really the banner cry here. And what the recent recession has done, in our opinion, is create an opportunity for the sensible long-term investor who understands that mankind will persevere and we will get through these problems. This is a terrific time to be accumulating some of the best businesses in the world. This is Chuck Carnevale saying thanks for listening. Look forward to talking again tomorrow.